Blessed Rising Soul family. Greetings, kings and queens. It's so good to be back. I trust you're all doing well. If you're new to the channel, welcome to Soul Family Oracle, where I deliver messages and guidance from the divine, the depth of our soul, our ancestors, and our spirit guides. And if you're returning, welcome back, family. Thank you so much for your support. I'm finally getting to do the Battle Plan series for the Agent of Light, and I'm so excited about this. Why? Because the chosen is being given so much power right now, so much power right now. And aside of the collective energy and power that we are being given, we are also individually unlocking specific powers within our specific bloodlines, lineages, in incarnations and past life energies. So there's just so much positive and high energy that is coming to the chosen right now that it's so very important to know how to move going forward in this lifetime, in spirit and in the physical. How to mold yourself to become not just the powerhouse that you are being made to become, but also a haven for safety, for security, for peace, for love, for abundance, for your individual collectives. An example of that would be this channel, for instance. Aside of us being a collective here on the channel, we also have our individual collectives that we fall in based on however our lives are. Some could be friends that we trust, some could be family members that we're very close to, some could be colleagues that we've known for so long that we have a very strong bond with, and the people around them. But so basically, the collective that we have around us, because these are the collectives that we're going to grow into. And for some of us, these are collectives that we are yet to come into, which is the soul tribe that we are yet to meet. And for many of us that have been called to walk the path of the oracle, Spirit is going to be guiding us to give messages and guidance to our soul tribe. So these are the various collectives that we're needing to prep ourselves to guide and to be there for, aside of the major or the general collective that we all fall in as starseed or light workers or agent of light, light beings, however you consider it, or whichever category you fall in, which I actually think it's all the same. Anyway, but you understand what I'm trying to say. So this particular message is kind of like to highlight the whole intention or vision that Spirit put on my heart when I was given this idea to develop this battle plan series. Because not only are we stepping into a position of power, we are going to be using our power also against people in position of power and for people in positions of power. So let me repeat that. Not only are we going to come into position of power as the light workers, but we are also going to go against people in positions of power, and we are also going to go for or protect or be there for and guide people in positions of power. And I think that came through in one of the readings that said that a group of from this collective, a group of divine feminines from this collective are going to be guides for powerful men and men in position of power. So 414 on my timer, exactly in a position to bring stability. We're going to take the lead in bringing stability and security. So it's very important to not only operate from a place of just creating, but we're also going to have to learn to create from a place of divine chaos. I always like to say that I operate from a place of love, light, and divine chaos, because not only are we to bring light and love, but we are also to be usherers of divine chaos when the divine needs us to play our role as the catalyst, because we are the catalyst to the change that the divine is calling in. That is why for a lot of us, we step into places and things happen, or when you go into a place, something has to change because you are a catalyst for the divine. So usually you'd be sent into places where you need to play your role as the agent, just like how you see in the movies when agents are sent to places to cause change or sent into places to complete missions. It's exactly in that sense. So to this message saying that the duality of power, the integration of your shadow to reach your full potential, that is the polarity of power. That is that power of harnessing both the light and the shadow, but exercised in balance with the heart. 555 on my timer. Yes, in order to bring about divine change, we must operate from the heart. So it's important to understand that even when you're operating from that point of divine chaos, it needs to be from a place of the heart. Like it needs to be from your heart space, like giving tough love. Tough love is kind of like operating from the heart space, not being judgmental, right? Or being um one-sided or being biased, but being genuinely caring and worried can cause you to give someone tough love instead of like maybe pampering the person or just allowing it so the person feels enabled. That's one way of exercising the shadow in balance with the heart. This is just to clarify how the shadow goes hand in hand with the light. That is the duality of power, of true power. The polarity that power holds is that of light and shadow exercised in balance with the heart. And I think that is the message that the divine wants to be delivered to the collective. To begin this series, it's important to understand first this message that all that we're discussing in this series has to do with what integrating our shadow with our light, because our shadow holds the space for us when we are not able to what allow ourselves to step into a light that will bring that is for our good, because we feel is going to be for the to the detriment of others, or it's not going to be for the good of others, even when what they are doing initially is hurting us. Too much light can cause blindness, even to what? The person in the light. Because when you're standing in the light, you can't fully see all the darkness around you. However, the darkness can seize you. But when you step into the dark, in most cases, you're able to see what's around from the point of the light that is within you, in the sense that you go into that darkness and you shine your light. You illuminate the space with your inner light. And that is an even higher illumination, because not only do you see, but others see, even as they are also in the darkness. So you see how much of a bigger impact that makes when you step into the dark to shine your light. Not like step into the dark just so you can become a part of the darkness. No. And that is where that duality comes in. That integration of your dark and your light and your shadow. So I'm sure a lot of us already understand the concept or the theme, or know about the theme of the light and the dark, 9/11 on the timer. That might mean something to someone. I'm feeling the need to say 911 and now 919. Okay, so the concept of the light side, right, is what we understand as the part that embodies our highest self, our most positive qualities and energies, and like our highest potential, and is expressed in alignment with our true selves or our higher self. And this is the part of us that I guess you can say represent love, compassion, genuinity, kindness, upliftment, creativity, positivity, and all the good stuff, right? This is basically the side that shares the light. Not necessarily the light within you, as in the light of who you are, no, but shares the light side, because there are people that operate from just the light, but within them there's a lot of darkness. So it's important to understand that also. Some people are filled with light, but they operate mainly from their shadow because of how they've been hurt in the past. And this is where Spirit was trying to make us understand that our shadow serves, or our shadow serves as kind of like the storage for the the things that we are having to deal with, that we're not able to deal with from our light side. And the shadow goes through that storage and tries its best to kind of like, replay it out in order to kind of like release it, heal it, decipher it. And that is why sometimes our shadow weighs on us so heavy or becomes a toxic pattern, because there's been so much to release and declutter and decipher. So for a lot of people, the shadow actually plays a major role in their day-to-day activities and their emotional state without them even knowing, because they operate from this side that they think it's supposed to be all from light and love and all this, and ignore and suppress all those different things that come up from their shadow that they are needing to address. That's why it's so important to understand this whilst you're being given such tremendous power, so that you can operate from the shadow, but in the essence of your light, with intention. Okay, so like I was saying, the energies of the light side is what we would say as, being able to be kind and empathetic and caring towards others, you know, and being inspiring and motivational, inspiring growth and evolution, positive evolution, expansion, being able to develop spiritually and help others to also realize or enlighten themselves spiritually, having courage and being independent, living in peace and harmony, or expressing peace and harmony in our day-to-day lives, or in our activities, in our expressions of self and creativity, whether through our work, whether through our communication with others, being beings of truth, walking in our truth. So you see how the light side is basically, like I was saying, all the good stuff. And usually we see this as how we are supposed to be all the time. And generally, in general sense, yes, we're supposed to come off naturally in our light essence. But when we're talking of integrating the light and the shadow, we speak of, give me the word, Spirit. Okay, thank you. We speak of integration as a way to harness the goodness that comes with your shadow, and to actively heal the darkness of the shadow. So this is, oh, thank you, Spirit. Thank you. Thank you. So this is Spirit bringing us to the realization that the shadow is just that embodiment of the energy that we speak of as the opposite of the light side, but not exactly a darkness, because the shadow holds light and dark, just as the light also holds dark when used in an imbalance, or when it's when it's imbalanced, or when it's used in excessiveness instead of in balance with the shadow. So now let's come to the shadow side, how we generally understand the shadow side. We generally understand the shadow side as the side that is less conscious of the goodness, or the good part, or the light part. So the shadow has certain traits like fear, insecurity, anger, envy, guilt, chaos, destructive tendencies or chaotic tendencies, toxic habits and patterns, manipulation, negative manipulation. So, under these energies, it's like these are what we understand as the energies that come with the shadow side. And we understand these energies as the energies that we operate in when we are not operating from our higher self and we're operating from our lower self, or we're operating from our trauma, or operating from the influence of our okay instrument. All right, thank you, Spirit. Or when we are operating from the influence and the instrument of our toxic habits. Thank you. Right? However, it's important to understand again that the shadow plays an important role in holding and exerting power. So when it comes to that, this is where we look at why, or when it comes to that, it's important to look at why those feelings come up instead of trying to push aside those feelings. Because looking at the why is how we now integrate it with the light side. So I wanted to give a breakdown of, for instance, the some of the main energies that I just spoke on, like the fear, insecurity, anger, envy, and guilt, and all those things, and how those emotions stem, and or like where they stem from, or the root cause of those emotions, and why it's important not to brush them aside but to tackle them head on by looking at them face to face and understanding where they are coming from, and looking at the ways to release those different energies that trigger them. And in doing so, you heal the source of these energies. And by healing the source of these energies, you integrate it with the light, which means you are now able to decide, I want to be angry, or I want to operate from this angry state for this reason, intentionally operating from the shadow side. That is when you've truly mastered the power of self. That is when everything really comes full circle and you move in this life operation like a pro, not just outside the matrix, but almost like controlling your own matrix, but not matrix in the negative sense, if you get what I mean. But like basically having full control of your life and the elements in your life, the people in your life, the things in your life, but not negative control, like you're trying to control things. Control in alignment with spirit. It's almost like spirit gives you control. Because remember, everything that we're doing is a co-creation with spirit. And that's why when you're not co-creating with spirit, you meet a lot of obstacles, because not all the obstacles we meet are part of the things that we're meant to learn and grow from. Some of them are just karmic obstacles that we get for ourselves because of some karmic decisions that we made. So when I announced the series before, I mentioned to grab a copy of Robert Greene's Power, the 48 Laws of Power. I myself have um I have the book. I love the book. And Spirit was bringing my mind to this series when I started to question some things in the book, because I always said how it's a good book, it's a very insightful book, but it also fuels the negative, the positive, the narcissist, the manipulator, the gaslighter. I feel like it fuels them also. But Spirit was trying to bring my mind to the fact that yes, it holds knowledge for both sides, because both sides both play a role. And that is why I recommended that we grab a copy of this book if you have, or you can get an ebook of it. That's the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Okay, so going back to how to look at the shadow side and understand the root cause in order to heal the source of it and to fully integrate it with the light side, whereby you are able to intentionally choose these energies in alignment to how the universe wants you to move. So when we look at fear and insecurity stems from the fear of rejection, feelings of inadequacy, fear of failure, things that hold us back from reaching our full potential, or traumatic experiences that hold us back from reaching our full potential, because it creates a case of fear and insecurity that kind of like aligns every idea or good intention that we have to move forward with ourselves. So usually when that shadow of fear and insecurity is coming up, we're needing to look at traumatic experiences that have brought about fear of rejection and failure, or from past failures that have made us fearful of taking bold moves because we're scared of failing again, or past situations where we were rejected by people, for some of us, even close friends and family. And this fear and insecurity causes us to now create a wall that brings about this shadow that influences us to push others back and maybe act mean to others out of fear. So instead of, for instance, maybe embracing situations where we might be called to step out of our comfort zone, or we might be called to show a side of us that we are not used to showing to others, even though that side is there, we get stuck in this energy of being held back because of that fear and insecurity. So when dealing with the shadow of fear and insecurity, in order to heal the source of it and integrate this energy, we need to address the traumatic experiences that brought about rejection and failure and feelings of inadequacy, in order to fully release this energy and integrate it, whereby now fear and insecurity doesn't hold us back, but it pushes us to move forward, whereby now when we're scared of something, we take it as motivation to do it, because we have the zeal and the courage to face the fear head on and defeat the fear and release that insecurity. And now that becomes an integration with our light side that brings about stability, security, and courage, and boldness, and confidence. So you see how that goes round to perfectly merge with the light side, where it's not like the shadow is not there anymore, but the shadow has been integrated with the light, where the darkness of the shadow has now become part of the light. That is when you stand in the darkness to emit your light from the inside out. In cases where you can't just stand and operate from the outside in the light, that is shadow work. Shadow work is when you step into the darkness. Shadow work is when you walk through the darkness to shine your light on all the different things that have been hidden in the darkness, and taking them all out one by one. I'm seeing a vision of like somebody walking through like a tunnel, like a dark tunnel. And as you walk, it's like the light is shining from within you, your heart space, and it's shining out. And as you move forward, it's showing all these different traumas and all these different past experiences and negative experiences, and all these different negative people and their negative projections on you, and all these negative words that were said to you. And it's like you're shining your light on them, and you're picking them from both sides of this tunnel as you walk through the tunnel. And even as you're walking through the tunnel, is all dark. All you see is darkness ahead of you. But the thing with shadow work is you will be walking through the darkness, but you'll be shining your light through that tunnel of darkness, and be shining and making it bright from behind you as you go. And at the end of the tunnel, you walk into the light that is at the end of the tunnel. That is the point of integration. When you finally step into the light at the end of the tunnel, you integrate with the darkness that you have walked through from the tunnel. Because remember, you can only get to the end, you can only get to the light at the end of the tunnel by walking through the tunnel. I guess that's why Spirit was giving me the vision of walking through the tunnel and your light shining from inside and illuminating all these different traumatic experiences and words and people and places and influences. And then it's like you're cleansing and blessing it as you go, all the way till you reach that light at the end of the tunnel, and fully integrate into the lights by stepping into that light at the end of the tunnel, where now everything becomes bright and clear and true. The next one was anger and resentment. What is the root cause of anger and resentment in most of us? When we look at anger and resentment, we can think of like frustration and hurt, pain. When we have pain and anger remaining stagnant in our bodies and our energies, it brings about emotions of fear, of anger and resentment. So when we are tackling the shadow of anger and resentment, it's important to look at things that bring us frustration and what triggers these things. And we will realize that most of the things that trigger these things are unresolved things from the past, unresolved things that brought us pain, things that hurt our feelings and our emotions. A lot of us carry pain within us. And so we are quick to snap. And so we are quick to resent people. We are quick to move away from people when they show us a few things. Because it's like we've been hurt so many times that the accumulation of that pain, when it begins to go, well, it just takes something small for it to go over. And then we get so angry, and that anger builds resentment for some people. Resentment is a very poisonous thing. Resentment can bring about jealousy, which is another shadow trait. Resentment can become very poisonous to your mind. And you know, a poisoned mind is a poisoned spirit, is a poisoned body, it's a poisoned soul. So when we're dealing with anger and resentment, it's important to look at things that have hurt us in the past and brought us pain, whether past, present, and release these things. And how do we release these things? Through forgiveness. So what Spirit is saying right now is when we're dealing with the shadow of anger and resentment, what we need to look at is what? Forgiveness. By practicing forgiveness, exercising forgiveness for self and others, we will be able to release the feelings of frustrations from hurt and the pain that have been afflicted on us from the past. Some of us still hold resentment for people that did things when they were in their lower frequencies, when they were operating from their shadow also. So now we walk in the shadow that was cast on us from the shadow that they were walking in, not understanding that we are meant to release ourselves from that shadow and not make it kind of like an umbrella over us when there's no rain. Because the shadow, thank you, Spirit. Spirit just threw something at me right now. The shadow is like an umbrella on a sunny day. You need the umbrella only on a rainy day. And even on some rainy days, it's a blessing to stand under it and feel that rain pour on you. So it's like when people casted that shadow on us on their rainy days, we took that shadow and now we're walking around with that shadow on our sunny days, on our everyday, not realizing that it was an emotion for the moment because we were so hurt by it. And so we hold that resentment and are not able to forgive those people. And for some, not able to forgive ourselves because we blame ourselves for putting ourselves in that situation or that position. A moment. So when working on healing the root cause of anger and resentment, we must first understand the importance of forgiveness. And I feel like that has been coming up a lot for some of us because with this power that we're stepping into, can you imagine not integrating that shadow aspect and walking in it and blowing up one day and deciding to do something to someone with such this power that you have? Like I was saying before in another reading, imagine having such power and not having control over your anger or your emotions, or not being forgiven, not being a forgiving person with such power. It's not possible. Spirit won't even allow it, because that is a shadow that needs to be what? Released and healed and integrated. So with this power that we're being given, it's important to understand, like I said in other readings, that to be a warrior, you must first find peace within in order to be able to wage war in the name of peace. A warrior must first find peace within before and only then can he wage war in the name of peace. So, to conclude on anger and resentment, it's important to understand that anger and resentment stem from unresolved hurt, pain, things that have been done to us that we've carried with us, some from childhood. And to be able to heal this shadow and integrate it into the light, we must understand the importance of forgiveness. Forgiveness of ourselves and forgiveness of others. Now, the next one was jealousy. And I coupled that with comparison, because jealousy stems from comparison, I believe. Now, when you're looking at the shadow of jealousy and comparison, we understand that as like the comparison, as you know, or well, like I'm saying, jealousy stems from comparison in the sense that the tendency to compare yourself with others is what leads to the feeling of lack and envy, which is jealousy, because jealousy is a lack mindset, envy is a lack mindset, comparison is a lack mindset. So when you're trying to heal the energy of the shadow of jealousy and comparison, we are looking at the root cause being lack mindset. So releasing or understanding this shadow will have us look at things that made us feel lack, things that made us feel limited, situations that put us in limitations, situations that held us back from maybe reaching our potential because we didn't have. For some, maybe from childhood, maybe because you came from a family where you didn't have much. So now you grow up into this power and you are still not able to fully yield that power or fully see the power that you hold, because you don't understand that you have even more power than others, because you look at the things that they've had and think or still feel lack because you didn't have those things. So to deal with the shadow of jealousy and comparison, we must first understand that with this power that we're wielding, or with this power that we're being given, we are also being what? Released from lack and limitation. We're being gifted abundance. And so there's no need for comparison. There's no need to be envious or jealous of anybody. And I'm not saying that the collective is. No. This is just understanding the various shadows and where they stem from and the role they play or have played in our energies, and how it's important to understand them in order to integrate them, to fully be able to understand and use this power that we're being given. That is what this whole battle plan series is. It's almost like now, I was saying in another video, now you've gained your kingdom back. Now you have your sword back. Now you have your crown and your throne back. What is the plan? How do you plan to keep your throne? How do you plan to grow your kingdom? And not that this is in a call to be wary, or maybe this has to be done, or I need to be careful with my money, I need to protect, because we're fully protected. But we ourselves are being called to step into our godliness by harnessing these energies. So again, when dealing with the shadow of jealousy and envy, we need to understand that it stemmed from the influence of limitations and lack mindset. So by understanding that with this power comes great abundance, and that with the lack that we had was just part of the growing, the learning to come into this position, the preparation to step into this position, because we had to be strengthened. We had to become independent. We had to become self-motivated, self-inspired in order to reach this self-development, this growth through this self-development, to be able to be given, to be able to even hold this power. So by understanding this lack mindset, whenever that feeling or maybe a shadow or a voice or entity even tries to penetrate into your high vibrational space by making you look at certain people or the progress of others or the journey of others, like see where that person is. Oh, that person just started and then they're here all of a sudden. Or that person has this or that person had that. Or maybe how am I going to do this? Because another thing that we need to understand is that comparison is also what brings about, for some of us, lack of movement, stagnation, procrastination. So with this power, there needs to be a release of all those energies by addressing that comparison energy, as understanding it, where the lack mindset comes from, and understanding that by releasing this comparison energy, we release not only the potential for envy and jealousy, but also the energies that are from the influences of that, like procrastination, fear of movement and stagnation and all those things. And thinking that we don't have enough to do the things that we do, or wondering if we are good enough. You can't hold this power and wonder if you're good enough. If you didn't know anything at all, let this be confirmation to you that by the divine decree, you are that powerful. That's the only reason why you are being given this power, or this power is being unlocked to you, let me say. Okay, I'm hearing being given also. Thank you, Spirit. This power is being given unto you because of the power that you have unlocked within you. You have unlocked the right amount of power in your vessel to be able to contain this power that the divine is giving to you. Thank you, Spirit. And so you need to believe. Whenever if comparison or lack mindset stems up, you need to understand, well, okay, I see you. And I'm sure this is because a few years ago when I wanted to start my business, I didn't have enough money. But right now, I have enough money, I have enough support, and I am being guided by the divine. Now I'm not working alone, I'm working with the divine. I've been gifted this power to do this. And so I don't need to compare my situation to others. I'm in my own lane, I'm in my own race. So there is no comparison, there is no race, there is no competition where I'm the only score. So now when you come into that energy or come face to face with that energy, this is where you shift your energy. You shift it to a place of, I don't need to, I understand where this energy is coming from. And I acknowledge it. Thank you for reminding me of where I came from, because that is just a reminder of how powerful I am now as compared to before. That is the energy that now you embody. This is the meaning of integrating the shadow with the light. This is the result that you should have, or the energy shift that should come about when that integration happens. So to do this, if you have this shadow, you can keep repeating this process whereby whenever the lack mindset comes up or the shadow springs up, you immediately address it and identify and acknowledge that part in your story or your past where this happened, and reverse it by speaking the positive into being on it, because the positive is what is now. It's just that some of us are struggling to realize it. That is why it's so important to understand the shadow. And if you haven't done the shadow work, to do the shadow work, because the shadow work is going to help so much in maintaining and using this power. The shadow work is a blessing. It will be one of the biggest blessings you will acquire or gain for yourself. All right. Another shadow I wanted us to look at, or spirit guided me for us to look at, is self-sabotaging. Self-sabotaging, I was being guided to share with us that is a shadow that so many of us have and don't even know. And it's expressed in so many different ways. One of the most common ones that we don't realize is, for instance, making ourselves small in order to make others feel comfortable. Reducing our value so others don't make us, so we don't make others think, so others don't think that we're arrogant. Canceling our intentions so that others don't feel we are imposing. Putting ourselves in a box so that others don't feel small. These are some of the ways in which the shadow of self-sabotage is expressed in our lives every single day. And to deal with this shadow, we need to understand that these patterns of behavior are just, these are patterns and behaviors that undermine our progress and success. Even though these are done subconsciously or unconsciously, it takes a profound effect because our subconscious runs the most active than our conscious. That is why it's so important to be intentional with everything that we do, because intentionality feeds to our subconscious the things that we really want, to cause that energetic shift in our subconscious, to replace the negative with the positive, to replace the toxic with the healthy. So when dealing with the shadow of self-sabotaging, it's important to understand that by being our true selves, we are able to inspire others and able to what? Use the power that we have to its fullest. And by allowing ourselves to truly evolve and emerge into the world as we are able to allow others to see the true extent of the power that we've been given, because this opens up opportunities for us to use our power to help others. It opens up the opportunity for us to exert our power to help ourselves, because as we help ourselves and our lives change, others are able to what? Come to us for help also. We are able to attract to us the people that we can help or the people that need our help. So understanding that these different self-sabotaging patterns or behaviors, like shrinking ourselves when we're in the midst of people that are not higher in vibration than us, is one way that we undermine our own progress and success, by kind of like bottling down our power. Now, I'm being also made to explain that through the battle plan series, there's going to be the point where, again, that foxy energy, where spirit is going to guide us on how to now use the shadow in the light of our power. That's one reason why it's so important, or it was so important for me to do this video first, in order to explain the importance of integrating the shadow, so that when we start to talk of how to use some of the shadow for our good and to the detriment of our ops, you don't start to feel guilty or some kind of shame because you don't understand that the integration of that and using it from the heart space is part of your power. Okay. The next one was power, struggle, and control. It's important to understand when you have great power that you don't need to play power struggle games. You don't need to control things, because you have the power that commands things to move in a certain way, which is usually for your good, which means you don't need to try and control things. So this shadow of controlling the need to be in control is something that we need to understand as almost like beneath us, in the sense of when it comes to power struggle with people or others or things. And when it comes to the sense of trying to control outcomes, trying to control our experiences and the things that we go through in our world, it's important to understand that the control that we have is because we are in alignment with the universe. And so we don't need to control outcomes because things are already playing out for our good, because things are already happening for our good. So the need to control outcomes and to manipulate situations is just our way of trying to what? Gain some level of security or stability or comfort or, peace of knowing that things are going our way because we made sure that it's going our way. But Spirit is saying it's really important to understand that you are coming into a certain level of power where you don't have to control anything, where you don't have to power struggle with anyone or anything, because doors are going to be open for you. Opportunities are going to be delivered to you. Things are going to move for your good. And like I was saying before in other videos, even everything happens for my good. And even when things are not happening for my good, they are happening for my good. Put that in the comment section if you resonate with that. Everything is happening for my good. And even when things are not happening, I know everything is going my way. Sorry. And even when things are not going my way, they are going my way. So you can translate it in that same sense and affirm it that things are always going for my good. And even when things are not going for my good, they are going for my good. Because even the negative brings good to me. Nothing happens to me, it happens for me. With this power, you need to understand that you've reached a certain level where things align for your good naturally because you have become a magnet for positive abundance. You have become a magnet for the good. And as such, you attract this in your life. And as such, you don't need to try and control things or situations or people to go your way or to do your bidding. You don't need to power struggle. You don't need to manipulate things in order to feel secure because you have gained a higher level of security and stability than you ever had with this power that has been given to us collective. And so there's no more need for control. When you work in alignment with the universe, you only do as you feel, as you're guided to, as your intuition tells you. And you know that everything is good because you're moving in alignment with the universe. And that's exactly what we're being told. When things start to make you feel like you need to control the situation, shift the energy and use it as a reminder that everything happens for your good. That's how you integrate this shadow side into your light and allow it to help you use this power to its fullest. The other thing, and the last one on my list, was denial and avoidance. The shadow of denial and avoidance is a way that we ignore and suppress the emotions of our realities and the things that make us uncomfortable. A way that is like the tendency of like creating illusions to cover the reality. And unfortunately, Spirit is saying a lot of us in the collective have been doing this or used to do this or do this. Take that how it resonates. Denial and avoidance. When dealing with the shadow of denial and avoidance, we need to understand the root cause of it as being our need to suppress certain emotions because we don't want to face the reality. Maybe because the reality or the truth of it makes us uncomfortable. Maybe the reality or the truth of it is going to hurt the feelings of others. Maybe the reality or the truth of it is going to mean that we change who we are and become who we truly are at the core, and not the mask that we walk around with because we want to be accepted. creating illusions so that we are able to get on a certain level with people and not feel like we are outcast. People pleasing. So the shadow of people pleasing, for instance, is influenced by denial and avoidance, by avoiding our true selves, by denying our true selves. We open up to others and give more of ourselves than we need to. And in some cases, give ourselves to even people that we don't need to give our energy to. So the tendency to ignore or suppress our true emotions and realities, covering it with illusions so we don't face, uncomfortable situations with people, places, or things, with experiences. To tackle this, we need to understand that with this power that we're being given, it's a statement of our authenticity. It's a statement of our true nature. It's a statement of who we truly are at the core. Light beings, light workers, truth seekers, agents of light who hold the truth. We hold the sword of truth, and as such, there is no place for that illusion. And that is how you shift the energy. When feelings or energies of denial and avoidance come in the phase where you need to uphold your truth, you must first recognize and acknowledge who you are as an agent of light, as a light worker, as an earth angel. And that part of your role is to uphold the truth through your authenticity and your genuity. Genuity or ingenuity, but basically your genuineness is what I'm trying to say. By, being genuine, being yourself. And so by integrating this side, how do we integrate this side? By fully understanding the root cause of it. And the root cause of this is what? Not being comfortable in the position of self, which also translates as not being, thank you, Spirit, which also translates as not being comfortable in the position of power, not being comfortable in the position of truth, not being comfortable in the position of light. And of course, the collective is the opposite of it. We stand in the truth of all these things. We stand in the position of all these things. So when the shadow of denial and avoidance is coming in, the need to suppress emotions and truth is coming in, we must first recognize that no, this is because what, Spirit? You're trying to give me something. What is it? This is because by standing in this truth, we express who we truly are to others, which means by standing in this truth, others are going to be the ones to deny and avoid us. So you see how in a reverse, us being in denial and avoidance is as a result of past denial and avoidance from others and things and situations that we have felt. So it being reflected or expressed in this position of power is that need to what? Ignore and suppress the power. Ignore and suppress the real truth. But Spirit is saying we are past that point because you have unlocked this power within you that has allowed you to gain this power. And that's why it's so important to understand that to tackle the shadow of denial and avoidance, you must first embrace all of you, all part of you that has been denied and avoided by others. And in doing so, you bring yourself back in balance with the duality of this power that the shadow holds when it comes to this denial and avoidance, because the reverse of that, or how you shift the energy, like I was saying, is when you bring yourself, when you remind yourself or shift the energies to the point of understanding that I am the sword of truth. I am an agent of light. I stand in the position of truth. I am comfortable with the truth. I am comfortable with power. I am comfortable with my genuineness. I'm comfortable with authenticity. And by understanding this, affirming this, you will be able to what? Fully use and walk in this power that we have come into. And that would be the last one of it. But it's important for us to understand, and I think that's what this whole reading is about. The importance and the significance, of the shadow side, and how it is essential for personal growth and spiritual development, because it holds valuable lessons and opportunities for our general transformation. And because when we confront and integrate our shadow, we reclaim our power and find greater authenticity, greater stance, and greater power in our journey, on our path, in our purpose. Because the shadow side is not inherently negative. Like I was saying, it also has its light side. It is just a part of us that requires healing, understanding, and acceptance. So by facing our shadow, we gain wisdom, we gain balance, and even deeper self-awareness. This is the full extent of power. The full extent of power is what? The dance of light and dark. The balance of light and dark. The balance of our light and our shadow. Because when we focus solely on our light side, we risk being like spiritually bypassing and ignoring deep emotional work that needs to be done, which can only be done by confronting our shadow. And for some can only be done by confronting from the shadow when dealing with others. And this can lead to, superficial experiences and, false positivity and, inability to face the truth, like the last shadow, being avoidant, living in denial. But when we integrate the shadow, it's different. Because when the shadow is also imbalanced, or when the shadow is without its light side, we become too engulfed on the negative side and become more to the darkness, which leads to more negativity and disconnection from our higher self, our divine, and our true purpose. Whereas when we integrate this balance and we integrate the shadow and the light, it brings this balance that helps us to reach true spiritual growth. Because this integrating of both the light and the shadow aspect of ourselves is what shadow work is all about. Shadow work is what allows us to embrace ourselves fully, our wholeness, by acknowledging our strengths, our weaknesses, our positive trait, our negative trait, our abilities and disabilities, by understanding them, by healing them in order to be integrate them. So in order to even integrate these two, it's important to bring ourselves to the position of fully understanding ourselves. Self-love, I'm hearing. And I think that's where I'm going to leave the part of breaking down the shadow aspect. And I wanted to touch on specifically also on how to integrate it. Just to go over, I put some points down. To integrate the shadow, we have to go through a process of self-reflection and awareness. And this is a regular process because healing is every day. You don't just do it one time. Shadow work is not something we do one time. Every now and then, when you feel certain emotions coming up that are not in alignment with your higher self, that's a call to do shadow work. So regularly assessing both our light and our shadow traits to acknowledge our positive qualities and negative qualities, whilst being honest with the challenges that we face and the obstacles that block us from reaching the awareness that we need through this self-reflection. Another way is by embracing our vulnerability, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, by allowing ourselves to confront our fears and insecurities, to open up past traumas and to see where healing needs to be done. Because that is where healing actually begins, with self, by being vulnerable with self. This way we can be vulnerable with the right people and allow the right people to be vulnerable with us also. Especially as healers, this is very important. The other thing is being compassionate with self, self-care, self-love, being loving and very compassionate with self, both for the goodness of yourself and the bad side, both for your good side and the bad side. For the part of you that shine and the part of you that is still in the darkness, that you're still trying to heal. That's where forgiveness also comes in. Forgiving yourself for all your imperfections, for your flaws, the mistakes of the past, your dark moments. And by bringing harmony and balance to these things, striving to find harmony between the two sides and using the light side to heal and guide the shadow side so that you can integrate the lessons from your shadow side to deepen that spiritual connection, to deepen that power that we've been given. That's what all this is about. Accepting the polarity, accepting that oneness that comes with that duality. I'm hearing that yin and yang. Exactly, the yin and the yang. The world operates on balance. Everything in the world is a duality, a polarity that runs on balance. And in this balance, we become more grounded and whole and capable of living to like our fullest potential in the light of this power that we've been given and are being given to help the collective with, to help the masses with. And it's so important for us to understand this as we begin, or as I begin, this battle plan series for us. And I'm really excited about it because I feel like this is just like the foundation the Spirit is needing for us to build. This strong foundation of understanding self, understanding the shadow and the light, and into how to integrate it to fully wield this power. So that we don't receive any towers when we delve into how to get real foxy in handling this power with the ops as we reach in these positions and how as we reclaim our kingdoms, our right, our birthright, our inheritances, our crowns, our swords. I'm so grateful to deliver this message to us. So grateful to be a vessel. Oh, wow, it's been 1 hour already. A vessel for the divine. As always, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And if you like if this message resonates with you, kindly share, subscribe if you feel called to, and please help us reach more of the Soul family. Thank you so much for being here.